Have you ever wondered what part of you will still remain after you're gone? Not the money, not the house, but the quiet things, the truths you've carried through every storm, the lessons carved by time, the way your love shaped the people who walked beside you. Because one day, all of us become stories. And what kind of story you leave behind, that's your true legacy. Maybe you've noticed, the older we get, the more we stop chasing what's next and start asking what will last. We realize wisdom isn't something we learn, it's something we become. And the question changes from what do I want to what can I give before I go. In this video, we'll explore how to turn a lifetime of experiences, the joy, the mistakes, the regrets, the victories, into something that lives beyond you. We'll talk about what it really means to pass on wisdom, not just memories. How to share truth in a way that heals, not preaches. And why your calm presence, your spiritual maturity, might be the greatest gift your loved ones ever receive. So stay with me until the end, because by the time this video finishes, you might see that your legacy has already begun. Every time someone feels peace, when your voice is no longer here, what truth will still echo in the hearts of those you love? It's a quiet question, and it changes everything. Because at some point, we all realize that the true measure of a life isn't in how much we owned, but in how deeply we were felt. Not what we built with our hands, but what we shaped with our presence. Many older souls come to this realization not through philosophy, but through experience. A grandmother who always listened more than she spoke. Years later, her children still remember her silence as a form of love. A father who never preached about patience, but showed it every time life tested him. Without knowing it, they became teachers, not by instruction, but by example. That's how legacy works. It's not declared, it's absorbed. Modern psychology calls this stage of life self-transcendence, the final step beyond success, where meaning becomes more important than achievement. Abraham Maslow described it as the point where we stop asking, "What can I get?" and start asking, "What can I give that will outlive me?" This shift marks a quiet kind of spiritual maturity, when wisdom becomes an act of service. But here's where many stumble. We often think legacy is about passing down money, property, stories, advice. Yet real legacy isn't what you hand over. It's what you embody so completely that it changes those around you. You can tell your grandchildren to be kind 1,000 times. Or you can let them see kindness in how you treat a stranger, in how you forgive, in how you soften when life turns hard. Legacy is presence made visible. It's not a speech, it's a vibration. And every act of grace, every time you choose understanding over judgment, patience over pride, adds to it. So if you're wondering how to begin passing on your wisdom, start there. Not with words, but with ways of being. Because long after you're gone, people might forget what you said, but they will feel who you were. Your true legacy isn't built in words or wealth, it's built in presence. And as we move forward, we'll explore how that presence can transform every regret, every hardship, into timeless wisdom. The kind that lives on quietly in the people you love. Every mistake, every heartbreak, they weren't accidents. They were lessons preparing you to teach truth. If you've lived long enough, you've probably collected your share of regrets. Moments you wish you could rewrite. Words spoken in anger, time you didn't spend, love you didn't know how to give. But here's the hidden grace of aging. Life eventually turns your pain into your... I once spoke with a man in his 70s who told me something unforgettable. He said, "For years I thought I failed as a father. I worked too much. I missed birthdays, recitals, dinners. I thought my kids would never forgive me." When his wife passed away, he finally realized what mattered most. Presence, not perfection. Instead of running from regret, he sat down with his children and told them the truth, not to justify, but to apologize. That conversation changed everything. His children didn't need explanations. They needed his humility. And that day, he said, was the first time he felt truly wise. Because wisdom doesn't come from success, it comes from integration. Carl Jung called this process individuation, the lifelong journey of uniting your light and your shadow, your pride and your pain, your youth and your age. When you stop hiding your flaws and start embracing them, they turn into medicine. Not just for you, but for everyone who learns from your story. Unhealed people pass on fear. Healed people pass on peace. When we're spiritually immature, we often try to protect others from pain by controlling them, telling them how to live, what to avoid, who to be. But spiritual maturity knows that real love doesn't control. It guides through example. It says, here's what I've learned the hard way, and I trust you to find your own way through. That's the beauty of aging with awareness. You stop trying to be perfect, and you start trying to be real. You realize your legacy isn't the absence of mistakes, it's the transformation of them into light. So the next time regret visits, don't push it away. Sit with it. Listen to what it's teaching you. Then share that truth, the one forged in fire, softened by forgiveness. Because wisdom isn't what you've learned, it's what you've transformed. And in the next part, we'll explore how to share that transformation. Not through preaching or advice, but through no one listens to sermons anymore, but everyone remembers a story that felt true. That's the quiet secret of passing on wisdom. It's not about speaking louder, it's about living deeper. Many people, as they grow older, want to share what they've learned, to warn, to teach, to save others from pain. But here's the paradox. The more we try to teach, the less they hear. And the more we simply live our truth, the more it reaches them. Teaching happens through words. Transmitting wisdom happens through presence. Teaching tells people what to do. Transmitting shows them who to be. Think of your own grandparents or mentors. Maybe they never gave lectures about life lessons or spiritual maturity, but they had a certain calm, a quiet strength that made you feel safe just being around them. That's transmission. Their wisdom wasn't in what they said, it was in how they existed. One woman I met still keeps a small photograph of her grandmother, a faded picture of her sitting at a wooden table, humming an old tune. She never told me how to handle loss, she said, but when I lost my husband, I found myself humming that same song, and somehow I felt her peace. That's legacy. It doesn't always come through advice. It flows through example, through rhythm, through memory. So how do we pass on our truth in a way that lasts? Here are a few gentle ways to begin. Write down your 7 greatest life lessons. Don't polish them. Let them sound raw and real. Record a short message in your own voice. You might think your voice is trembling, but to someone who loves you, it will sound sacred. Practice quiet acts of kindness. The way you treat a waiter, a neighbor, or a stray animal might teach more than any speech ever could. The simple act of listening, fully, may be the purest, but here's the mistake many people make. They try to pass down their experiences as universal truths. They forget that every generation faces a different world. What worked in 1970 may not work in 2025. The goal isn't to make others repeat your path. It's to help them find their own. So when you share, do it gently. Share like you're offering a candle, not forcing a torch. Let them take the light in their own way, because wisdom shared with love becomes timeless. And as we move to the next part, we'll look deeper into that kind of light. Not the kind found in books or advice, but the spiritual legacy that lingers long after we're gone. One day, your grandchildren might not remember your advice, but they'll feel your peace. That's the beauty of a spiritual legacy. It's invisible, yet unforgettable. It doesn't live in journals, bank accounts, or lectures. It lives in energy, in the quiet vibration you leave behind in others. Modern psychology calls this emotional imprinting, but in spiritual terms, it's energy transmission. Every emotion, every act of grace, carries a frequency. When you walk into a room with calmness, people feel it even if no one says a word. That's why a truly wise person doesn't need to talk about wisdom. Their presence speaks for them. There are two kinds of legacies. The first is the knowledge legacy, the lessons, stories, and advice we try to pass on. It's valuable but fragile. Words fade, books get lost, even memories blur with time. The second is the spiritual legacy, the energy of how you lived. That one never disappears. It becomes part of the people who loved you. I once heard the story of a woman whose grandmother passed away years ago. Every time the wind blew through the porch and made the wind chimes sing, she felt her grandmother's warmth again. Not her words, not her recipes, just that quiet, loving energy that always made her feel safe. That's what spiritual maturity looks like. When your peace outlives your presence. Ask yourself this: what vibration do I leave behind in others when I exit the room? Do they feel tense or do they feel calm? Do they feel smaller or more alive? That vibration, not your words, not your achievements, is what people will carry long after you're gone. So how do you build that kind of legacy? You cultivate peace inside you until it becomes contagious. You forgive quickly. You listen deeply. You let go of being right and focus on being kind. Because the soul remembers the energy of love longer than it remembers any advice. Your peace is your legacy. When you embody serenity, you become a living blessing, a quiet light others instinctively follow. That's how your wisdom travels through generations, not by instruction, but by resonance. And in our final part, we'll explore how to live that legacy now, how to become the message. Legacy isn't what you leave when you die. It's what you give while you're still alive. As we grow older, something beautiful happens. The race to achieve slowly turns into a desire to contribute. You stop asking, what can I get from life, and begin to ask, what can I give back before I go? That's the quiet transformation from living for yourself to living as a gift. When you look back, you'll see it all. The joy, the heartbreak, the choices that shaped you. Every chapter, even the painful ones, now feels like part of a greater story. One that was never just about you. Because your story in the end becomes a lantern. It lights the way for someone else. I once met a woman in her 80s who kept a small garden behind her home. She said, "These flowers aren't for me anymore. I plant them for the next family that moves here." That's what a living legacy looks like. Creating beauty you may never Being a living legacy isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about showing up. With kindness, with patience, with forgiveness, even when the world forgets to. Each act of love, no matter how small, becomes a thread in the invisible tapestry of human connection. You don't have to be famous, rich, or extraordinary. You just have to live with awareness. Because spiritual maturity means realizing that your energy, your calmness, your compassion teaches more than your words ever could. Every smile you give, every apology you make, every truth you tell, gently. That's how you build eternity in real time. So as we close, I want to invite you to take one small action today. Share this video with someone you wish to bless with your wisdom. Write in the comments, what truth do you want to pass on? Because when you speak your truth, you don't just leave a message, you leave a mirror for someone else's awakening. And remember, maybe the purpose of aging isn't to hold on, but to pass on. Not to stay forever, but to make forever possible through love. So wherever you are, breathe in peace. Let it ripple outward, because that peace, your peace, is the legacy the world has been waiting for. If you've stayed with me until now, thank you. It means something in your heart resonated with this message, and that alone is a form of legacy. You see, every time we pause to reflect, to listen, or to pass on even one piece of truth, we keep wisdom alive in the world. That's how love continues, quietly, endlessly. If this video spoke to you, I'd be honored if you'd share it with someone you care about. Maybe a friend, a child, or a grandchild who could use a little light today. And if you'd like to keep walking this path of reflection and peace together, I invite you to subscribe to this channel. Here we talk about life after loss, meaning after change, and the beauty of growing older with grace. Before you go, tell me in the comments, what truth do you want to pass on before you leave this world? Because together, we're not just sharing stories, we're preserving wisdom, the kind that never fades. Thank you for being here. And may your light, in its quiet way, keep guiding others home.